So I spent my childhood in a really, really small town called Rayagada district. This is the place where I was born. It was called Bisamkatak. So it's southern half of Orissa, Andhra Pradesh border, very Naxal infested. Just to give you some background about this place, the national average of literacy is something like 60 or 70%. Orissa's literacy average is something like 60%. The average literacy rate of Rayagada district is less than 20%. So I had a very crazy and sort of tough childhood, especially because of the extremism that the town was going through at that point of time and probably goes through now as well. I think at a lot of levels, it was a blessing in disguise for me because I was not one of the usual kids, because I couldn't make a lot of friends. I couldn't spend a lot of time like a lot of other people did, and so on and so forth. I was thankful to my family for being able to send me to a school. And this was a Catholic school, which they used to pay $3 a month as my school fees for. God bless that school. But had a great opportunity and a great childhood. During this period, was the first time I heard the word entrepreneur. Our eldest sister used to be among the inspiration for all the younger guys because she'd done well for herself. My sister was an inspiration, and she one day showed up at a house and said, I was back at this entrepreneurship event at our college, and I felt this sounds like a cool word. I went on Google. Google used to be really slow. I used to pay for this 150 rupee broadband. Even Google used to have this rotating thing like loading. And I figured what that was, didn't get what it was, but I felt this sounds really cool and this is what I want to become. So you remember childhood days when you have all the children and teacher asking you what do you aspire to become? Everyone would say engineer, doctor, and I used to say entrepreneur. Like that's what I used to feel it spelled like. And everyone used to be like, this guy has gone crazy. But that is the level of commitment and clarity I had, and it sounds very crazy for an 8-year-old. That is what I wanted to become, and I felt so deeply about it. Post my 10th grade, everyone in my school used to go to one of the senior high school or universities in the same state. So I felt I wanted to do something different. So I came to the northern half of the country, and I used to travel through my childhood across the coastal areas in really cheap, like those general train boxes through my childhood. Then I had this opportunity of going to the northern part of the country because I really wanted to discover hills. That was a secret. Like my family never knew that. They felt our child wants to study. And my dad always wanted me to just come back and work with him at his shop. But really, really wanted to avoid that for a long enough period of time. I'm glad I have. So when I went there, I used to literally take weekend buses, Volvo buses that go to Uttarakhand, Himachal, and a bunch of these places. And every pocket money and so I used to do internships with various companies. I would say I'd work for anything that you would give me, just for traveling. And every weekend, I would write emails to these hotel owners, these resort owners, etc., and say, guys, can you please let me stay for free? I want to solve something in this sector someday. Some of them would give it to me for free. Some of them would give me discounts. And a lot of them would say, screw you. Like, we want you to pay the whole price. I didn't care a lot. So over this period, I got the opportunity to stay across 100 places in this country, in more than 200 properties. So it sounds like a less number, but considering you just have 365 days in a year, and it is just 4 years back that I'm talking about, it was almost, at one point of time, I didn't show up at my school for 4 months, and I was just traveling. So it was really crazy. I had this instant hunger of sort of saying, I want to solve something in this sector, man. I mean, why do I have to go through these experiences where I can't discover these places which are extremely affordable, which I always get to know after going to this town? So it used to always happen, I would land into a town, wherever this bad owners would have asked me to pay the whole amount, that's the Marwari in me, but really I would try and find other hotels, and I'd find places that were really, really affordable. So I felt I wanted to solve it. As I say, necessity is the mother of invention. So I started Oravel, which was India's first marketplace of villas, serviced apartments, bed and breakfast, etc., etc. Did that for a period of 6 months and continued to travel during that period as well. So this whole travel was happening during this period as well. Now what happened was this. The bulb would have glowed, but it did not. For 6 months, my failure trail in life continued. I failed in 2 companies before OYO came up. The reality was, during the 6 months, everyone who stayed with us came back with issues that were significantly different. Everyone came back saying, just to give you a jigsaw of experiences, We land the city, call the hotel owner, he won't pick the phone, reach the hotel, no signboards, reach inside the receptionist sleeping topless, get in the bedroom, mattresses torn apart, washroom don't have water, they're leaking all the time, breakfast has worms, can't pay by credit card, and so on and so forth. I felt terrible about it. And you know what? When I felt that this problem, I started talking to a lot of people I knew, and I said, I want to solve this problem. There is this real problem out there, which is of having predictable experiences in these hotels. Why don't I solve it? And almost everyone told me, hey, you know what? This is not scalable. Like this is, anyone who's been in this entrepreneurial community would hear this word and jargon very often. But you know what? I had heard something amazing which I felt very deeply about, and I did a lot of reading, right? Steve Jobs once said, innovation is what differentiates leaders versus followers. So I felt like I want to be a leader. I want to be someone who creates and solves for something and doesn't do something for the sake of building a business. So I felt even if I operate just 2 hotels, I will operate them so well that consumers will at least have a better experience from what they have today. Maybe it won't be foolproof. Maybe it won't be one of the 5 stars, but it'll be definitely way better than what consumers have today. And they can predict what kind of experiences they're going to get. During the same period came the turning period of my life. This was right after my senior high school. I told my parents that I was going to college. I joined a college in Delhi. I went there for 2 days, and I felt I'll go there the next day. And one day I took a leave to continue building Oravel, which was slowly becoming into more predictable experiences. And I kept postponing that one day, and that one day kept pushing to 6 months. So my family didn't know that I was actually not going to college, and I was staying back there building this company. And I applied for this random thing called the TL Fellowship. This was end of 2013. Crazy stuff. During this period, what's quite funny is, the application form was the most funniest part. So I applied, so the deadline is the 31st of December, and I applied in the morning of January the 1st, because the reality is this is Pacific Standard Time versus Indian Standard Time, and this helped me. So I never knew I would actually make it because there was no Indian as a part of this fellowship. So just to give you a background, Peter Thiel started this thing. Peter is the founder of PayPal, one of the largest investors in Facebook, and a bunch of large tech companies. And his view of the world is people who want to create disproportionate value and solve large problems. They don't need the education of college, they need education regardless, and he could provide that education by enabling open mentorship. So I thought that was a great thing. So he basically gives $100,000 to 20 people under the age of 20. Acceptance rates are lower than MIT, Stanford, and a bunch of these Ivy Leagues. The catch is you have to drop out of college. I felt this was amazing, that you get paid not to go to college. Like, who gets that? So I applied. I was feeling excited about it just because of the whole application process, right? It asked me questions like, what is that one contrarian thing that you think about this world that everyone else thinks you're nuts about? And I felt, if you were trying to do something inspirational and amazing, you're actually going to go nuts so many more times. So got the opportunity to become a TL Fellow, first Asian resident. So it was the most amazing period of my life. Built OYO Rooms. I think I'd love to share a little bit about how OYO Rooms got built. Through this period, we've disrupted a broader industry in this country, which was sluggish for the last 10 years, and today is among the most exciting industries in the last two and a half months, right? In the last 1.5 years, people used to tell me I have gone nuts a year and a half back. Today we have, for the first time in India, a company has innovated, created itself into what we have built ourselves. We have 44 clones today across 15 countries, which are getting financed every regular day to be modeled around OYO Rooms. And today there is an OYO for real estate, OYO for washing machines, OYO for whatnot at this point of time as we scale. We feel excited about having done something like this, but what it came with is average of 3 death threats a week from real estate guys. They don't like us, right? Because you basically went down and disrupted something as amazing as this. And what I wanted to share about it is, every time something like this happens, don't be scared. When you're there to put a dent in the universe, people are going to get unhappy with you, but that doesn't really matter. So today, we are across the country, we call it Har Jagah OYO, and as we build ourselves, we've built ourselves into in India's largest branded hotel network, and what we aspire to become is the world's largest hotel network ever over the next couple of years from right here in India. Thank you so much.